Plantagenets. Rotro III married Matilda, the illegitimate daughter of King Henry I of England, the son of William the Conqueror. In 1128, soon after the Council of Troyes, Hugh de Payens, the Templars' first Grand Master, met with Henry I's brother-in-law, King David I of Scotland, the son of Malcolm III and Saint Margaret, the daughter of Edward the Exile and Agatha of Bulgaria. David's sister Mary of Scotland was married to Eustace III of Boulogne, brother of Godfrey of Bouillon, and Baldwin I. Henry I married David's sister Matilda. As recorded in the Anglo-Saxon Chronicle, Henry I welcomed Hugues de Payens in Normandy in the late 1120s, and permitted him to visit England and establish a branch of the Templars there. Henry I later ratified the grant to them of their first headquarters in London, at Holborn, the Old Temple. 3. Rotro II's wife Matilda was among several members of the English royal family who died in the wreck of the White Ship off Barfleur in 1120 after the crew had been binge drinking. All but one of approximately 300 people aboard perished, including Henry I's only legitimate son William Adelin, whose death led to a succession crisis and a period of civil war in England from 1135 to 53 known as the Anarchy. The White Ship disaster had left Henry I with only one legitimate child, a second daughter named Matilda, whose mother was Matilda of Scotland, the daughter of Malcolm III of Scotland, and Saint Margaret, the daughter of Edward the Exile and Agatha of Bulgaria. Matilda had moved to Germany as a child, where she married the future Holy Roman Emperor Henry V. On Henry V's death in 1135, Matilda was recalled to Normandy by her father, who arranged for her to marry Jeffrey of Anjou to form an alliance to protect his southern borders. Jeffrey V. Plantagenet was the son of Ermengarde of Maine and Fulk V. of Anjou, c. 1089-92, 1143. Fulk V., also known as Fulk the Younger, was the Count of Anjou from 1109 to 1129 and the King of Jerusalem from 1131 to his death. Fulk went on crusade in 1119 or 1120, and became attached to the Knights Templar. In 1120, Fulk V went to Jerusalem, and became a close associate of Baldwin II as well as of Hugues de Payens, Grand Master of the Templars. 4. Fulk V planned to neutralize the threat of the rise of Normandy. By marrying his son Jeffrey V Plantagenet to Matilda, he thereby brought about the historical convergence of the Angevins, House of Normandy, and the House of Wessex. Henry I's nephew Stephen of Blois, who had disembarked due to the excessive drinking before the ship sailed, usurped Matilda as well as his older brothers William, Count of Sully, and Theobald II, Count of Champagne, to become king. After Henry I's death, Matilda and her husband Jeffrey of Anjou, the founder of the Plantagenet dynasty, launched a long and devastating war against Stephen and his allies for control of the English throne. In 1139, Matilda crossed to England to take the kingdom by force, supported by her half-brother Robert of Gloucester and her uncle King David I of Scotland, while her husband, Geoffrey, focused on conquering Normandy. Matilda returned to Normandy, now in the hands of her husband, in 1148, leaving her eldest son to continue the campaign in England. He eventually succeeded to the throne as Henry II in 1154, forming the Angevin Empire of the Plantagenets. Henry II married Eleanor of Aquitaine, 1122-1204, the daughter of William X of Aquitaine, the second son of William IX the Troubadour, and Philippa of Toulouse, the niece of Raymond IV of Toulouse. Eleanor's first marriage was to King Louis VII of France, 1120-1180, son of her guardian, King Louis VI, through whom she bore two daughters, Marie and Alix. As Queen of France, Eleanor led armies several times in her life and was a leader of the Second Crusade, 1147-1150. The Second Crusade was announced by Pope Eugene III, and was the first of the Crusades to be led by European kings, namely Louis VII and Conrad III of Germany, 1093 or 1094-1152, of the Hohenstaufen dynasty, with help from a number of other European nobles. The Crusade, which was a failure but a great victory for the Muslims, would ultimately have an important influence on the fall of Jerusalem and give rise to the Third Crusade at the end of the 13th century. However, as 15 years of marriage had not produced a male heir, Louis agreed to an annulment. Soon after which Eleanor married Henry II and bore him 5 sons and 3 daughters, one of whom was Richard the Lion-Hearted, who succeeded his father to the throne of England. However, Henry and Eleanor eventually became estranged. Henry imprisoned her in 1173 for supporting their son Henry's revolt against him. She was released in 1189, when Henry died and their third son, Richard the Lionheart, ascended the throne. As Queen Dowager, Eleanor acted as regent while Richard went on the Third Crusade. On his return, Richard was captured and held prisoner. Eleanor lived well into the reign of her youngest son, King John. Genealogy of Plantagenets. William the Conqueror. Henry I of England plus Matilda of Scotland, Malcolm III plus Margaret of Wessex, D of Agatha of Bulgaria. Empress Matilda plus Jeffrey V, Count of Anjou. Henry II of England plus Eleanor of Aquitaine. Henry the Young King. Richard Lionheart plus Berengaria of Navarre, D of Sancho VI of Navarre and Sancha of Castile, D of Alfonso VII of Leon and Castile. Eleanor plus Alfonso VIII of Castile. Joan plus William II of Sicily, G.S. of Roger II of Sicily and Elvira of Castile, D of Alfonso VI of Leon and Castile, and later Raymond VI, Count of Toulouse. John, King of England plus Isabella of Angoulême. Henry III. Henry I of England plus unknown. Robert, Count of Gloucester, commissioned copies of the Historia Regum Britanniae by Jeffrey of Monmouth which popularized legend of King Arthur, plus Henry I of England plus Edith. Matilda Fitzroy, Countess of Perche plus Rotro III, Count of Perche, Perceval of the Grail according to Swiss scholar André de Mandac. Rotro IV. Adela of Normandy plus Stephen II, Count of Blois, step-brother of Hugh of Champagne, founder of the Templars in contact with Rashi. Theobald II of Champagne plus Matilda of Carinthia. Theobald V, Count of Blois, involved in blood libel through affair with Jewess Pulselina of Blois, plus Alex of France, D of Louis VII and Eleanor of Aquitaine. Henry I of Champagne plus Marie of France, D of Louis VII and Eleanor of Aquitaine. Adela of Champagne plus King Louis VII of France. Marie of Champagne plus Odo II of Burgundy. Matilda plus Rotro IV of Perche. Stephen, King of England, suppressed blood libel case of William of Norwich, plus Matilda I, Countess of Boulogne, D of Eustace III, B of Godfrey of Bouillon Baldwin I of Jerusalem. Henry of Blois, Abbot of Glastonbury, Bishop of Winchester, author of Pearl's Vase, and used Jeffrey of Monmouth as a nom de plume to write Historia Regum Britanniae, which was largely responsible for formulating the image of Arthur. The Grail story transferred to Marie of France's court, which sponsored Chrétien de Troyes, when his nephew Henry I of Champagne visited Glastonbury. As popular legends surrounding the House of Anjou suggested, they were demonic in origin, so that some historians were led to give them the epithet the Devil's Brood. The chronicler Gerald of Wales, c. 1146, c. 1223, a close friend of the Welsh poet Walter Map. The original source of the Skull of Sidon legend is the key contemporary source for these stories, which often borrowed elements of the Melusine story. Gerald of Wales related a similar story in his De Instructione Principis of a certain Countess of Anjou who rarely attended Mass and one day flew away, never to be seen again. According to Gerald, Richard the Lionheart was often accustomed to refer to this event saying that it was no matter of wonder, if coming from such a race, sons should not cease to harass their parents, and brothers to quarrel amongst each other, for he knew that they all had come of the devil, and to the devil they would go. A similar story was related to Eleanor of Aquitaine in the 13th century romance, Richard Coeur de Lion. Gerald also presents a list of legends about the sins committed by Geoffrey V and Henry II as further evidence of their corrupt origins, which, he says, were not always discouraged by the House of Anjou. Henry II's sons reportedly defended their frequent infighting by saying, "Do not deprive us of our heritage, we cannot help acting like devils." 5. Jeffrey of Monmouth, author of the Historia Regum Britanniae, which popularized the legend of King Arthur, may have come from the same French-speaking elite of the Welsh border country as Gerald of Wales, Walter Map, and Matilda's brother, Robert, Earl of Gloucester, c. 1090–1147, to whom Geoffrey dedicated versions of his history. 6. Robert was Matilda's half-brother and her chief military supporter during the Anarchy. Robert's father Henry I contracted him in marriage to Mabel Fitzhamon, daughter and heir of Robert Fitzhamon, which brought him the substantial honours of Gloucester in England and Glamorgan in Wales, and the honours of St. Scholas-sur-Sarthe and Evresis in Normandy, as well as Cruelly. After the White Ship disaster, and probably because of this marriage, in 1121 or 1122 his father created him Earl of Gloucester.